Welcome to this explainer on literally the greatest cold case in the history of our planet. I mean, think about it. For over 160 million years, Earth was ruled by the absolute most powerful, diverse creatures to ever walk its surface. They were completely dominant. And then, bam, 66 million years ago, they just vanished. So, how does an entire empire of giants simply disappear? Okay, let's dive right into this massive mystery to find out what could actually wipe out a titan like the T-Rex. Was it just one sudden disaster from space, or was it something much bigger, like a prolonged breakdown of the planet's actual life support systems? We're going to look at the evidence, trace the exact timeline, and uncover what brought the age of the dinosaurs to a screeching halt.
Part 1. The Prime Suspect, an asteroid impact.
The Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction event is our crime scene, right? And our prime suspect left a massively obvious fingerprint. A giant asteroid slammed into near-present-day Mexico, carving out the Chicxulub crater. The sheer force here is almost impossible to wrap your head around. We're talking energy billions of times stronger than a nuclear bomb. The exact split second that rock made contact, the world as the dinosaurs knew it was officially over. Within literally minutes of the impact, the planet just descended into utter chaos. The kinetic energy from that collision sent unimaginable shockwaves rippling straight through the Earth's crust. It triggered massive, unprecedented earthquakes. The very ground these giants had confidently stomped on for millions of years was suddenly tearing itself wide open. And that intense shaking was immediately followed by a massive displacement of the oceans. We're talking giant tsunamis, walls of water hundreds of feet high, just tearing across the globe, absolutely devastating coastlines and dragging everything in their path back into the churning sea. As if the superquakes and mega tsunamis weren't enough, the immense heat from the impact, plus all that burning debris raining back down, ignited global firestorms. Entire forests burned completely out of control, turning the bright sky into a dark, burning inferno. But you know what? The true apocalypse? It was actually just getting started. Part 2. The chain reaction, a deadly darkness. The fire and the massive waves, those were just the opening act. The real killer was a slow, agonizingly suffocating chain reaction. You see, the initial impact blasted unimaginable amounts of dust and vaporized rock straight up into the atmosphere. It completely wrapped around the Earth, choking out the sun for months, maybe even years. Global temperatures absolutely plummeted, throwing a greenhouse planet into a sudden, deep freeze. What followed was a deadly, unstoppable domino effect. Without sunlight, the plants simply couldn't photosynthesize, so they died off. Without the plants, the massive, heavy-eating herbivores starved. And once the herbivores vanished, the great meat-eating carnivores at the absolute top of the food chain completely lost their prey. The entire food web just collapsed in on itself. Species after species just blinked out of existence in an unbroken chain reaction. It ultimately wiped out nearly 75% of all life on Earth. The oceans, the skies, the land, all completely emptied of the incredible diversity that was thriving literally just days prior. It was extinction on a scale we can barely even fathom.
Part 3. The Accomplice, Volcanic Eruptions.
But hey, we have to ask, was the asteroid actually working alone? Because timing is everything in a cold case. Some scientists strongly point to a massive series of volcanic eruptions known as the Deccan Traps. We are talking about intense, relentless volcanic activity lasting for tens of thousands of years, flooding huge regions with lava and severely weakening the global environment long before that space rock ever hit. These eruptions pumped millions of tons of toxic gases directly into the air, fueling extreme, erratic climate shifts. The world was already dealing with highly unstable ecosystems, so when the asteroid finally showed up, it didn't hit a healthy, robust planet. It struck a fragile, already struggling world. It was basically the ultimate devastating one-two punch.
Part 4. The Plot Twist, Hidden Survivors.
Now, after the global firestorms, the pitch-black skies, and the freezing temperatures, you'd probably think the story ends in total silence. You might assume every single dinosaur was totally wiped out. But biology is incredibly stubborn. The extinction was massive, sure, but it wasn't absolute. There were hidden survivors sifting through the ashes. While the massive giants, those multi-ton behemoths that required crazy amounts of daily calories, fell to starvation and the brutal elements, a few dinosaurs actually survived. Specifically, some very small, feathered, bird-like dinosaurs managed to endure this harsh new world. Why? Well, because they were small, they needed way less food. And because they had feathers, they could survive the deep freeze. They adapted.
It's wild to think about, but the modern birds we see flying around our neighborhoods right now, from the pigeon pecking at the street to the eagle soaring in the sky, are the direct living descendants of those survivors. Scientifically speaking, they literally are dinosaurs. The age of dinosaurs didn't completely end at all. It just took to the skies.
Part 5. The final verdict. Adaptability wins. So, bringing it all together, why did the undisputed rulers of Earth actually disappear? Well, the final verdict is that it wasn't just one isolated bad day. It was a catastrophic combination of things. A sudden cosmic disaster, rapid and extreme climate shifts from both the impact and the volcanoes, and ultimately the strict biological limits of massive creatures who simply could not adapt fast enough to keep up.
It's a really harsh reality of nature. Adapt or die. Even the absolute strongest, most terrifying apex predators can fall rapidly when the environment suddenly flips. It perfectly proves that Earth doesn't belong to the biggest or the strongest creatures. It belongs exclusively to those who can adapt.
Which leaves us with one seriously haunting question to chew on regarding the future of our own ever-changing planet. When the environment drastically shifts again, whether it's triggered by rock, by fire, or by our own hands, what will survive the next great test? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep asking the big questions.